Hey everybody, it's Dawn. Just making a short video, and I'm not exactly certain why I feel so compelled to do this, but I was in my office today, or my studio slash office, sitting at the desk. There is actually a computer and a desk, but this is like the messy, studio. So I was sitting here and I was reflecting on something. So I've been, going through something the last couple months, well, like my whole life, but it's become clear starting a year ago in the last few months. And it's, seems to be the never ending story that will not resolve itself. So I've been doing the best that I know how to move through it. And a lot of things are coming up. Oh, I just realized I'm wearing my dad's sweater today. I'm having one of those days, like I'm supposed to be working, but no deadlines, and I can do it a different day. So I decided to clean the studio and just do little things, little projects to keep myself, sort of grounded and connected. I'm gonna get to the point. Things are flying by too. It's either dust, probably dust, given how I've been cleaning up. So I just felt so compelled to share this though, because so I'm processing, working through, doing what I, need to do to release things as they come up, really impatient. And yesterday I had this moment. I wrote a poem about it. You can go read the poem. It was wonderful, sort of. But I was sitting outside and I was having, I had a decent day yesterday, a really good day actually. And but when I get quiet sometimes, things come up and that are the larger sweeping movements going on behind the scenes. And there's this cloud that came, and I swear to you, it literally was like a ship from beyond. I'm certain actually that it was. And so I had this moment, and I really literally felt like my guides and God, just like there was a choice point. I'm not necessarily saying the clouds would have opened and I would have gone into them. However, I do feel that it was a sign and a choice point. And, I really sincerely felt that. And so today, I chose to stay. And I wrote the poem about that. You can go read about that if you want. But the point that I'm trying to get to is today, I think as I've been moving through various things, I've just felt drawn to certain points in my journey over the last, 3 decades really, but in particular, the years from 2014 or so to now, but in particular within that period. So I had 2014, 15, 16, and 17. I mean, gosh, when I look at what I did in terms of following faithfully, following my intuition and going where I was led, those were the years I was in Ireland and France, England a bit, and then, various points in the United States. I went out west for 2 or 3 trips, and again, I was just following Spirit's guidance, and everything was provided. Everything was provided, and I felt super connected. And I think there's like 2 things that are coming up at once that feel like there's this tension for me to reconcile. On the one side, I look at that as a really positive thing. I followed the call of Spirit faithfully, even when it, at great sacrifice in terms of financially and things that I could have been doing that would definitely have been more successful or lucrative for sure, but also successful in terms of appearances. I wouldn't have looked crazy, right? And yet overall, I'm at peace. I feel like actually really good, and I was very happy in those moments. I mean, I was going through some very significant, awakenings, if you will, or up levels in terms of my soul growth. And I was remembering more and more. And I was doing, I feel, what I was meant to do. Now my path is different, and all of our paths are different, and I feel like that's part of this. So I feel like what's going on inside, so that's the one side is, and what's going on with this tension, let me finish that thought, is the opportunity to hold it all. Okay. That includes, holding, we're really becoming the masterful in terms of how we engage with the shadow aspects of our journey and our person, and the more obviously parts that are of service and bring light to our own lives, to the lives of others, and where we're really on point with our mission and soul purpose. So that's like the one side, is like I could see those years and how I really did serve, and even the years that were difficult, so 2020 to now, which I would say that's the case for many humans on the face of Earth, for different reasons. And for me, this sweater is gigantic. Like I said, it's my dad's. There, that looks better. I have just been really struck today. Various things I ran across is, this, again, the tension. So on the other side of it, is this thing that I look back and I can see where I really did consider. Some of you who may have, there's probably very few people, because my, like whatever, since whatever happened with the channel and nobody, whatever. Okay. But if you followed me back in the early days of me sharing on this channel, I was very committed to, and right all the way through, I was committed to it. But at the time I started this channel, I was really, plugged into the path of sacred partnership, which I still wholeheartedly believe in. I need to rewrite the introduction, but the book that I wrote about that and the videos I did in general, I still very much believe in that as a path. My views have changed, but if you did follow me back then, you'll remember there was a point. It started in 2017, when things were like super high in terms of the collective energetic aspect of that journey, but like I wanted out on a personal note. Like I'm like, no, don't want it, but felt committed to this path. And so like it was something I really struggled with. So the point being, on my evaluation and my looking back over my entire last, life, my whole life, but also more so in terms of my, from the point of like, okay, I'm on the path of awakening, which, there's always iterations. I mean, it started back in 2006, but then 2011 was a big marker. That was like, okay, I'm going to be all in. And then from 2011 to 14 or so, I was, trying to be all in, but it was still really, struggling to do so. And then not that I don't still struggle, I do. But so then I was following faithfully in terms of these, larger service to humanity, the earth, the story that my soul remembers, and all of that. But there did come a point where I was like, what am I doing? And in particular, a couple of things have come up recently for me where I feel like my soul was trying to say something to me, like, it doesn't have to be locked in to the path as you saw it. But I really struggled with that. I really did, genuinely. And so I stayed committed to what I saw it was supposed to be, which was like a 33-year contract, or 30 to 33. I count it different from different times, but anyway, 3 decades. And that came to a close in January. Yay. But when I've been looking back for a couple of different reasons, one is a more personal, heartfelt reason, and the other is much more of a analytical, like, oh, I was only seeing it from this perspective. It can become challenging because I can look back and think, oh my gosh, it was right there, that different path I could have taken. And who knows where it would have led. But it's possible it would have, because I was strong back then, and it's possible that in that strength, and it would have taken me out of the situation that's apparently been going on my whole life with my everybody I know, everybody I know, all my family and good number of friends and colleagues and professional acquaintances as well. But I can't really speak to it because, like, I don't know, don't have evidence or proof. But it's clear, and I think now, like, oh my gosh, had I made like a couple of different choices, even though they seemed like, what would you do? You can't do that, but yes, you can. So the point of this video is, I feel like, what I've learned now that I'm closing out, right, this one long journey, and also this thing with all I've ever known, in terms of the way I've moved through the world, even who I am. But I don't know. I'm waiting. That remains to be seen. But like this whole tension, right? I feel like what I'm trying to say, not very well, but is that there's value in that, in being like, just being okay to not know. It's been super, like, it's been bothering me. In part because I'm like, could I have saved myself this pain in this situation? In part because of maybe not only would I have saved myself the pain and certain repercussions that have come to light, but also, like, it's potentially true that oh my gosh, there's 2 black cats out there. What does that mean when there's 2? There's not even usually cats out there. Okay, whatever it means. But it's potentially, it's possible. I mean, who knows? Like, you can't go back, like, and predict, if that had happened in this, because you can't. But in my case, I think of people I don't, that are not here anymore. And I also think about certain things that occurred in my journey that would not have occurred had I made a different choice. And then I think there's a couple of people who, potentially could have benefited had I made a different choice. I don't know for sure, but I feel like it's true. Like, and that in and of itself is worth honoring. And that's what I'm saying. All of it's worth honoring. And then, I somehow felt compelled to find, I was like tearing through my studio trying to find these half-finished paintings that I had back in that time period when I was like super, I was just in a state of grace and flow and ease and pure potential every day. And I had like no plan and nothing really in terms of actual money coming in. And I mean, I was fine though. I was saving money than I would have been if I was in the States. I had no expenses. Everything was provided. I was like on top of the world in terms of like hanging with these 3 Springer Spaniels at the time, and then traveling, and on the 2 France trips. The first one was a couple of weeks, Easter of 2016. The second one was for a month. It was probably the most profound experience of my life, the last 3 days, which weren't supposed to happen. I was supposed to fly out and had to go back. So anyway, I've been like drawn, like today, back to these things that represent choice points. There's 4 or 5 of them. And I'll just share this one. This is just like one of them. I couldn't remember what this painting was about. I finally found it. It was like rolled up in a piece of canvas. It's not finished. And it was inspired actually by a trip to Texas, and Salado, Texas. There is like some kind of church or something that had a blue door, and I loved the blue door. And I was like, the blue door, like, it just spoke to me like a million times. I had a photo series too. I shared, I think, on Facebook at the time. But so this is this half-finished painting. It's not finished at all. The faces are terrible, as you can see. But there are these four images that just still to this day really speak to me. I don't even know what they mean exactly, but it's like 4, and this one is so unfinished down here. Like, I don't even know. What is that going to be, an angel or something? The other 3, I have a better idea about what they are. And I feel like they have to do with aspects of my journey, my soul's journey through time, this lifetime, but echoes of others as well. And they're not people. Like, sometimes I have spoken about that before. They're not people so much as they are, I guess you could say, archetypes or aspects of expression, which is another thing that I've really been pondering today is, how connecting to the various aspects within us, even if we can't name them. Like, I couldn't name you what those four are necessarily. But I think that there's an opportunity, and it has something to do with that door, that those are all doors that lead me to the door, that lead me to the dimensions of my soul and the various expressions that are unique to me. And somewhere in there, if you get into that, and you connect back to your soul, I feel like it's all okay somehow. I mean, I pray this is true. I do. Because sometimes in my weaker moments, like last night, after that, ship appeared and I was like, no, I'll stay. I'm like, oh my God, I made the wrong choice. I did. I had a moment of like, should have gone. And I don't know, like everything changes. It's very changeable for me right now. I apologize. I'm so emotional. But no, I don't, because it just is, right? And I think that is it. Like, somewhere, you can evaluate all these things and you can think, I messed up. I should have made a different choice. I got a delivery coming. So she might ring the doorbell, and if so, I have to go get it. But somehow, if you just stay with it, you just be with yourself through it, it'll all be okay. Because eventually, if you stay connected to your heart and soul. So for example, I was connected to my heart and soul when I was like really had the moment of like, I was laughing and crying when like the cloud appeared, because I had like demanded the day before, demanded reprieve from my suffering, right? And I was all up in my, well, I mean, it was honest and true, but also a little bit like self-indulgent in terms of like, oh God, the other people are suffering too, just in a different way. And I think that like honoring that, and then like that next moment, about an hour or two later, when I was like panicked, like, oh my gosh, they showed up for me and I didn't go, and like, no. And then like today, I'm like, really, this connects me back to, again, that moment or it's the time period in general when I was like, some things did occur to me to make a different choice. Not necessarily to abandon completely the path that I was on. And I'm not just talking, by the way, about, the quote, twin flame sacred partnership path that I did speak a lot about when I started this channel. I'm also talking about the way that I was showing up in terms of my creativity, my spirituality, all these ways that we show up, even in, family and friendships, and in how I was engaged in my work, my life path. But somehow, if we just remain present to all of it, even as it changes, in the craziness of how it changes, I do believe that somehow then we can enter in to that space, Sorry. And I was just thinking about, some of the teachings that are dear to me with regard to that. in different spiritual traditions. And sometimes we can, when we're feeling the pain of it, like, oh, did I screw it up? Or the other words for that, or wow, did I create more suffering for myself or other people because I was committed to something that I saw as true? So we can ask those kind of questions. And I think that it can feel like it has to be an either or, but it's not. That's kind of what these 12 diamond dimensions that were, grounded, or being grounded. Oh, now the phone. All right, I'm going to have to go in a sec. Clearly they want to, it's either distractions or people really need to reach me. All this stuff. But I want to finish this thought. So somehow I believe that we are in a time where actually there is an expanded way, and maybe it's always been here for us, but I believe that the energy and the light that's flooding into our reality is it's giving us a different way of being with that, a gentler, easier way. At least that's what I am hoping is true, and I feel certain it is, and I feel like that's what we just need to allow ourselves to be in the middle of it. And I'll close with this idea of, so, yay, it's the year of the fire horse, right? I'm like, okay, let's go. What is the problem? Like, let's go. And I don't necessarily mean, just to be clear, any one path. And, we've just come through, or like we're still in the tail end of a passage where it's all about, leaning into our passions and what lights us up, and really being with that. And yet there's also, at least in my experience of it, this sort of like, it's okay. Hold your horses. The horses are going to go when the time is right. Just be with it, be with it, be with it. And I am not known for my patience. So I'm working on it. I'm better about it, believe it or not. But I think that what's beautiful about the time we're living in, this passage in particular, moving into 2027 and beyond, and then like I see 2033 as another big marker, and then whatever is after that. I think that the gift of just allowing ourselves to be where we are is this sort of expansion. It is the radiant expansion from within that comes through our presence to the process. So I will leave it there. I hope something in what I said was helpful, and I just felt like I said, just really compelled to share it with you. I have not shared many kind of soul share videos is what I call them. Used to call them my heart to heart, soul to soul videos, but I haven't done one of those that is not about the drama that's happening in my own very disturbing personal process. But this one felt like more applicable to share. So I'll try to get the transcript from this and find a 2-sentence version. I need to work on that, getting to the point a little bit better. But anyway, all right, later.